ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you for joining today's Train to Contain Biosecurity web conference. Please note that all participant lines will be muted until the Q&A portion of the call today. We will provide you with instructions on how to ask a verbal question at that point of time. You are welcome to submit written questions during the presentation, and these will be addressed during Q&A. To send a note, please select the participants menu at the top of your screen and opt to Send Note to all presenters. If you're logged in using the web-based application, please use the Notes function on the lower right-hand side of your screen and address your notes to all moderators. If you require any technical assistance, please send a note to the ATTCES operator or call our help desk at 888-796-6118. With that, I'll turn the call over to Liz Clark. Liz, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liz Clark, and I'm a training specialist on the Professional Development Services branch staff. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar on the Train to Contain Biosecurity training module. Our speaker today is Lori Miller. Lori is a Senior Staff Officer / Environmental Engineer for Veterinary Services, Science, Technology, and Analysis Interagency Coordination in Riverdale, Maryland. She manages projects aimed at providing better tools for veterinary services emergency responders in the areas of carcass management, decontamination, and biosecurity. Train to Contain is one of the 15 projects Lori has managed over the past 5 years. I will now turn the webinar over to Lori.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's really my pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to talk to everybody about this tool. What I'm going to do is give you a demonstration of the Train to Contain training module, which is currently on the APHIS public website. And to get there, you simply type in the URL of www.aphis.usda.gov that I've highlighted on the top of that slide there. And once you get to the APHIS homepage, then you click on Emergency Response on the left, circled in red. When you click on that link, you will see the next page, which has another choice to the far left, which is Tools and Training. And when you select that one, it brings you to this list of tools and training. And at the very bottom is Emergency Management Tools. You click on that link, and it takes you to the decontamination selection, as well as a number of other disposal, health and safety, and other links. But for the purposes of today's talk, we're going to focus on this decontamination link. And when you select that, it then brings up the training option. And selecting training gives you a variety of choices, including the Train to Contain Biosecurity training module. I realize that was a lot of clicking through, so I'm happy to send the direct link to anyone who might want it, and my contact information is at the end of the presentation. So finally, we click Train to Contain, and it comes up with the training module itself. And so you have the opportunity to start it new, or you can resume if you've gotten partway through the course and want to go back and pick up where you left off. And if you're one of the 5% of the population that likes to read instructions, you have that option as well. So I'm just going to imagine that we've decided to jump right in and click Start. And when you do that, you get an introductory page that welcomes you to the course, gives you some objectives for the course, and once you've read through that, you can then click OK. So I would encourage you to go ahead and access the course, play with it, and really get a feel for it. There's plenty of places where you can go wrong when you're doing the course. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks through this demonstration, so hopefully you'll be able to whiz right through it when you try it. But it is kind of an interesting approach to the training. So we click OK, and that takes us to the next slide, which is an assignment. So the idea is that you're a responder, you're been assigned to investigate somebody's farm, Mr. Joyce, and he's had some high poultry mortalities, and you're going to go out there and see what's going on with Mr. Joyce. So you've gotten your instructions to go out there, and you have the option to view the biosecurity plan before you go. You can choose to do that or not. I would highly recommend that you do so because it pretty much gives you all the answers that you're going to need to continue with the course. So definitely would suggest choosing the biosecurity plan. And when you do, it comes up as a 5-page document. And this slide that has now come up is, sort of indicates that there are 5 pages here. Each one has some really useful information. The information in this biosecurity plan was provided by a number of subject matter experts throughout APHIS. It was reviewed by Deborah Nelson. We had content provided by folks at Plum Island, including John Baer, who did the biosecurity module for the Foreign Animal Disease Diagnostician manual. So there's lots of good content here. Although the biosecurity plan that is provided here in the module is specifically for the game purposes, it does have a lot of good information and ideas that you could use to produce your own biosecurity plan for a site if you were interested in doing so. But it's not intended to be a site-specific biosecurity plan. Okay, so once you've read through the plan, printed it out, whatever you want to do with it, then you close that out and you get back to the original page that gave you your assignment, and then you can click OK to continue with the game. And you get feedback throughout the course. In this case, the box pops up and congratulates you for deciding to read the biosecurity plan first, reinforces how important it is to have a plan and to become familiar with it, and it also points you to some additional resources. You can click OK, and that will, again, reinforce the importance of biosecurity. Clicking OK. You now have your assignment. You need to get ready to depart for your site visit. And the module suggests that you refer back to your biosecurity plan, and then you can click OK. So this is where it becomes useful to review the instructions for how the game works. I'm not showing it to you live. I'm showing it to you with screenshots just to avoid any computer glitches that might come up during this 1-hour webinar. But once you don't have any instructions on the page, you can navigate by, if you're at a computer with a mouse, you can hold down the left-hand mouse button and scroll back and forth. It'll allow you to pan around the scene to see the different walls in this garage space. And there are a number of these circles with exclamation points in them. You can hover over those to help you make decisions. So in this case, we're going to hover over this first one that's on the side of the truck. And it's asking you, do you wish to clean and disinfect the vehicle inside and out? Do you want to load the vehicle or do nothing? So, although this is somewhat artificial where you're interacting with this scene using a mouse, it really is intended to get you to think about what would you do if you were in this situation. Here you are, you've got to go out to somebody's farm. Their birds are dying at an accelerated rate. You have to collect samples. This could be it could be highly pathogenic avian influenza. It could be something that's highly contagious. So you want to think about, well, I'm going to need to do all these biosecurity steps. I'm going to need supplies, and you may notice that the vehicle itself is really dirty. And if you're going to be driving to the farm and have to disinfect the tires when you leave the farm, you're probably not going to want to get all this mud off the truck using your hand sprayer. So that might lead you to conclude, who used this truck last and why didn't they clean it? And likewise, you might want to make sure that you leave the truck clean for the next person who might need it. And so in this case, you've chosen to clean and disinfect the truck, and you get feedback from the game which says, yes, that's a good idea, and refers you to other SOPs that can give you more information. So you click OK, and it again reinforces that it's a best practice to clean the vehicle at a commercial car wash after you visited the potentially infected farms so that the truck will be ready for the next use. And that's after you've disinfected it leaving the farm, and then just an overall clean at a commercial car wash is a good practice. So you click OK, and now you've got a nice, shiny, clean truck. What next? Well, I've included these red arrows to the left and right to give you the idea that you can pan. You may notice to the far left of your screen there's part of a yellow circle, so you know there's going to be a decision point there. But let's see what else is in this garage, because I'm not quite ready to go out there. I haven't gotten any of my PPE or biosecurity supplies. I'm not quite ready to set out yet. And here's a view of one of your decision points, the garage door, if you pan to the left. And if you pan to the right, you see a bunch of other decision points. And so this is where I think I want to start. See about clicking on one of these and seeing what my options are. So I click on this first circle that's highlighted with the red arrow, and the game asks me if I'm ready to load supplies and equipment for the site visit. And yes, I think I want to do that. So I click yes, and that takes me to the next screen, which instructs me to click on the supplies themselves or on a checklist that's going to pop up. And it also gives you instructions on how to submit the checklist if you're going to use that. Click OK to clear that box, and then this checklist pops up. And so you can look at the checklist and decide which, if any, of these items do you want to load into the truck, or you can go ahead and click on the items on the shelves. You can zoom in and out. The boxes are labeled with the contents of the boxes, so you know what you'll be taking with you. And if you pan further to the right, there are additional choices that may not be immediately visible on the screen. So personally, I like checklists, so I'm going to use that. And I'm reading through, and I see the first option is Tyvek or washable coveralls. Yep, I'm going to want that. So I'm going to click on that. Disposable boot covers, yep. I'm liking those top three. The power washer, the fourth item, I don't think I want to use a power washer. That could spread aerosols. Some of these things I may not want to bring, like a leaf blower towards the bottom. So I click the things that I think are going to be needed from the checklist, and I click Submit, and it comes up with the items I selected. I chose not to include a power washer, push broom, or leaf blower, hint, hint, and then I click Submit. And that was the right answer, and I'll show you what happens when you do wrong answers a little bit later. You click OK. It reinforces the information. Click OK. Now I'm ready to leave the garage. So at this point, I've probably done one last pan around the entire garage to see if there's any other things that I might have forgotten. If I'm happy with what I've got, then I'm going to go ahead and click this exclamation point. It confirms that I do, in fact, want to go to the site. I agree. Yes, I do. and it reaffirms. I click OK, and I'm magically transported to the site, and it tells me so. I click OK. Now I see an exclamation point in front of me, so that's good. I hover over that and see that it gives me a choice where to park. Well, that sounds like a good thing to start with. So I go ahead and click that, and it asks me, do I want to park outside the front gate, inside the gate, or do nothing? Well, thinking about it, I'd probably rather park outside the gate, because if I go inside and it's infected, then I might have to do more disinfection when I leave. So probably better to park outside the gate, and I'm going to click on that, and it gives me positive feedback. I click OK to clear that box, and it reinforces the information. Parking vehicles on the graveled, paved, or concrete areas a minimum of 500 feet from the animal production area to minimize contact with soil, mud, or manure. Keep the vehicle windows closed. Okay. Clicking OK takes me to the next view. So I'm inside the truck, and this gives me the option to get out of the truck. So I could pan around the inside of the vehicle to see if there's anything else I need to take before I get out, or I could just get out. In this case, I'm just going to get out of the truck. It reaffirms, is that what I want to do? Yes, it is, and that was a poor decision. It would have been better for me to put on some boot covers, maybe don my PPE before I get out of the truck, just to make sure I don't contaminate my street clothes. So this has given me feedback. I know that I have made a mistake. It tells me to return to a save point to correct the error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK to clear this box. And if I had read the instructions, I would know that I could click this bar in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And if I click that series of bars, it opens up a progress list. And I can see that my last save point was when I parked the vehicle. So if I wanted to go back earlier in the course, I could do that. But just for expediency, I'm going to go ahead to my last save point, which is park the vehicle. I'm going to click on that, and there I am back in the vehicle. Now, I've panned. Now I know that I made a mistake by getting out, so that let me know that I need to pan around the inside of the vehicle, and there on the passenger seat, I see some personal protective equipment. So I'm going to try that. And when I click on it, it gives me positive feedback. I click OK, and then I have the option of flipping through some slides that show how to don PPE. These slides were taken from a video that John Baer and others produced for the FADD course at Plum Island, and we captured the salient points, the salient images, and caught them in this slide presentation. And so you would just click through these white arrows back and forth through the slide presentation to see how to don the PPE. And when you're all finished, then you could click the Continue button. So again, I would encourage you to play with the actual training module on the APHIS website. That way you can click through all these things, read the biosecurity plan. There's a lot of information in there that is really beneficial. This is just to give you an idea of, kind of how to navigate through the course. So once you've put on your PPE, then you can leave the truck. And when you've left the truck, then if you look around your environment, you see that you have an option to take some things out of the back of the truck. And that would be to set up your decon area for when you are finished collecting your samples. So if I click on that, I get another slideshow which shows me how to set that up. And when I'm done going through those slides, then I can click Continue. And also, there are printable versions of these various images that are available in the course. So you can, print it out, have it in a hard copy for future reference as you wish. I click Continue once I've finished looking at that slide show, and now I've got my decon area all set up so that when I get back with my samples, I'll be able to disinfect and take off my PPE and pack everything up and be ready to go. So this is an opportunity now to look around the environment, and I've indicated that by adding these red arrows. So you would hold down your left mouse key or use the arrow keys on your keyboard and look around your environment. And one of the things I see is an option to go in the front gate. Well, I parked my vehicle, I've got my decon all set up, I've got my PPE on. Okay, I'm pretty comfortable that I can go ahead and do that. So I clicked on that, and it takes me inside the gate, and I have the option to walk closer to the barn. So I go ahead and click on that arrow, and it moves me forward. I have two options here. I can go into the barn and collect samples, or I can talk to Mr. Joyce, the farmer. Probably better to talk to Mr. Joyce before you go on into the barn. You want to introduce yourself. And in fact, this course has an audio portion that you'll hear Mr. Joyce talking. You'll hear an interview with him. And so you can't hear that on this demonstration, but you will get the benefit of that when you play with the actual course. So you choose yes, you want to talk to the farm operator, and you will then hear an interview with him and see all sorts of cool animation where he looks guilty for not having a biosecurity plan already in place. And then this list is some of the things that the interviewer will ask him. And once you're finished, you'll click OK. You'll hear and see the interview with Mr. Joyce. And when you're all finished, then you'll think about the next steps and click OK to clear this box. Well, looking around, it seems like the most logical next step would be to go ahead and collect samples from the chicken barn. Although if you pan, you'll see that there's also an option to go through a gate to a swine barn. In the process of talking to Mr. Joyce, you found out that he also has some pigs. But for this purpose, let's just say that you've decided not to get involved with pigs, that you're going to go straight to the chicken barn because that's why you're there, to collect those samples, and you click on the door. You confirm that that's what you want to do, and when you get inside, you'll see some sick chickens and an opportunity to take samples. It's assumed that you learn how to take samples through other training, and that's not covered in this course. So once you do that, you click on the chicken to take the samples. You're magically transported to a point where you've taken the samples, you confirm, and then you look around, and your option is to leave the barn. So you click on that, and now you're outside again. And this is another decision point to think about the next steps you need to take. So you can scan the environment and think about it. So at this point, you really have a couple options. You can go to the other barn. Mr. Joyce said that he thought his pigs might not be looking so well either. So you could go to the swine barn. You could look behind you and go back through the gate and leave the farm going towards your truck. And if you were to do that, then that would give you an opportunity to consider some options back at the truck. So let's say you decide to do that. You don't want to you've just been inside a barn with sick chickens. They might have some sort of avian influenza. Who knows if it's a type that could be infective to pigs. You don't want to contaminate the swine barn, so you choose not to go into the swine barn. You choose to go back to the truck and package up your samples. And this, again, gives you those options. And so you're going to package the samples, disinfect and load your equipment, and doff your PPE. If you really want to go get samples from those pigs or to look at the pigs, you would put on another set of PPE. But that wasn't part of your mission. That was not part of your assignment, so you're not going to do that today. You chose to package the samples. You click OK. And this gives you some things that you should do before you leave the site. Talk to the farm operator, give him some instructions, give him, fact sheets, package up your samples in accordance with the IATA procedures, which are not part of this course. That would be a separate course. And do not visit other livestock or poultry operations until you've completed all steps of the closeout from this site visit. Click OK. You can go through another slide set on how to take off your PPE. And then you would click Continue, and you would be transported back to the garage. Once you're there, you have some choices. There's, when you pan around the garage, you will have choices to choose a shipping container. You can choose to go into the office and do some paperwork. You can choose to go home, get in the truck. In this case, you're going to choose to package up your samples. You confirm that's what you want to do, and then you're going to choose to decon your supplies and equipment. And then you're going to clean and disinfect them and return them to the shelves. That's what you've chosen to do. Then you've selected the vehicle, and you're going to clean and disinfect it inside and out and take it to a car wash when you leave for the day. Okay, this gives you some more instructions. And once you've done all that, then you're going to go back into the office, to the locker room. You're going to shower, change into your street clothes, launder your work clothes, and complete your paperwork. And with that, you have successfully completed the course, and you can enter your name and generate a certificate, and then click OK to exit the course. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that folks might have.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we move to the Q&A, please feel free to place yourself in the question queue by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad. Voice over computer users, please select the raise hand emoticon from the top toolbar. You will receive a notification when your line is unmuted. At that time, please then state your name and question. Once again, pressing #2 will indicate that you wish to ask a question. And if you wish to send a written note, please do so by selecting the participants menu at the top of your screen and opt to send note to all presenters. If you're logged in using the web-based application, please use the Notes tab on the lower right-hand side of your screen and address your notes to all moderators. And I do have a raised hand here. Please go ahead, Diane.
Yes, I have a silly procedural question. I open the module and it won't move forward after it gets to a certain point. What do you do when that happens?
And so where are you in the course?
Right after loading the truck.
Okay, so you've loaded the truck, and you're saying you can't move forward and backwards?
Right. All you can do is move around the garage. There's no icons for doing anything else.
So when you move around the garage, do you see a circle with an exclamation point on the garage door?
Yeah.
So click on that,
Okay.
and then you transport.
So the key of continuing moving through is to keep clicking on the exclamation points until there are none.
Yes. Although, don't be fooled. Sometimes there are exclamation points that will take you places you don't want to go, so you might not want to take that choice.
Right. But if it's not offering you something else to do, you should look for an exclamation point that has an appropriate thing to do.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I just received a written question. It says, on previous deployments, it was decided best practice to leave used PPE on the farm. Is this different if the farm is not confirmed infected yet? In the presentation, it said BMP was to take your PPE with you when you leave. If so, how is it best disposed of?
That's a great question, Richard. Thank you. So it's going to depend on the incident. If you're in an active emergency response and you're on a known infected premises, which is going to have lots of waste disposal operations going on, then it's often recommended to leave the PPE at the infected premises. For the purposes of this training, you don't know yet if it's infected. It's just it's just a visit, surveillance. And so in that case, packaging the PPE into a garbage bag, disinfecting that, and taking it back to your base of operations would be appropriate. But that assumes that your base of operations has a method for disposing of that. Sometimes what folks do is hold the PPE, if it's been bagged, double bagged, disinfected, they might hold it at their garage location until they get the results back. If the results are negative, then it could just be disposed in in the regular trash, as long as it's not in a red bag. If it's in a red bag, that indicates it's a bio waste, and then you cannot put it in the regular trash. But and if it comes up positive, then you would have to dispose of it as infected. I hope that helps.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a verbal question, please do so by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad. Voice over computer users, please select the raise hand emoticon from the top toolbar.
Okay, I have another written question. Would this training qualify as FAD continuing education? I don't see why not.
I don't know the answer. Liz?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. Steve, I'm in the process of putting together a new list of things that can be for continuing education, and this certainly would be one of them. And I also do have another written question. How do I get to the actual training?
Yes. So to get to the actual training, if you go through the slides that we just went through, it walks you through how you get there from the APHIS homepage. It's quite a few clicks to get there through the APHIS homepage, so I'm happy to send you a direct link if you would like. And maybe that's something we should do to everyone who has participated, Liz?
We can do that. And in fact, what we can do also is we will be sending out a link for the actual, because it is recorded. This webinar is recorded. And what I can do is when I get the link for that, I can also put the link in to get to the actual program.
Great. Thank you so much.
And we have a raised hand.
Please go ahead, Marissa.
Hello. It's not a question, it's more a comment. I just really appreciate this program. I think it's wonderful. Having been on a few deployments, I can see how walking through it myself at this capacity would have really raised some questions that I could have asked before I was sent anywhere. So I just want to say kudos to you guys for all the hard work obviously you put into this, and thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much for that. That means a lot.
Okay, so Lori said she likes checklists. How about a quick checklist of steps to get to the training site?
Sure, we can do that, or maybe the link is the easier way.
Yeah, we'll send a link out.
Sounds good.
Are there any more questions, either verbal or written?
I do have a raised hand.
Oh, okay.
Please go ahead, Diane.
Hi. Wouldn't it make sense to put a little new button on the front of the emergency section of the web page so that people who are casually visiting could find this?
I'm having trouble understanding you. I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Well, for example, on our web page, when we have something new and important and interesting, we usually put a little, shortcut to wherever it is we want them to go and see the new material on the front page of our section. So I'm suggesting that you put a little new message on the front page, emergency management page that says, new training. Click here so that you can sort of push people to this so that this wonderful material isn't lost to the masses.
That's a great idea. And so you're thinking on the APHIS homepage or on the VS Animal Health Emergency Management page?
At a minimum, on the APHIS, on the internal on the page for emergency response.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And the farther out you put it, the more people you'll get to go to it. But at a minimum, I put it there.
The other thing, Lori, is maybe what we can also do is we can have the link posted to the FAD-I SharePoint site.
That's a great idea as well. And so that would help people who are internal, I believe.
External people can get there too, as long as they have an EOS.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions or comments?
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask verbal questions, please press #2 or select the raise hand emoticon from the top toolbar. If you wish to send a written questions, please select the participants menu from your top toolbar and send a note to send note to all presenters. If you're on the web-based application, please select the Notes tab on the lower right-hand side of your screen and address your notes to all moderators. I do have a raised hand here. Please go ahead, Michael.
Yes, I was wondering, I'm still looking for the direct link or the link in general, and I can't seem to find it. I'm on APHIS home.
Okay. And then on the left, emergency.
Emergency response.
Yes.
Okay.
And then tools and training on the left.
Yes, I'm there. See, four
And then at
animal
the
disease.
very bottom.
Very bottom.
Yep, all the way down at the bottom, emergency management tools.
Okay.
And then decontaminate, or I think it's decontamination.
training?
Yes,
Training.
train. And then you should see train to contain.
Yes. 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 Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, if we don't have any further questions, I want to thank everybody for joining us today for this great webinar. We'll also be sending out some more dates for upcoming webinars as the dates become available. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the web conference today. The call has now concluded and you may disconnect.